Hey, 7th and 8th grade, this is Mr. C. It's Halloween, so I've got my hair up in my one of my favorite characters, Lewis Robinson. Oh, wait, glasses. Gotta have glasses. See it? Anyway, if you haven't seen Meet the Robinsons, you probably don't get that, but that's okay. I want to give just a couple-minute introduction to the stuff that we're going to be learning about this week in history. We'll still have recordings of the classes. At least that's my plan, so that you'll be able to watch those if you want to. We're working on some things with sound and maybe a little bit better camera. I've got some equipment that I think will do a pretty good job. And maybe it'll be a little easier for us to get those kinds of recordings that will do the job that we want done. But to just sort of introduce you to the topic, this week we're finishing up with Lexington and Concord. I've got a video of a recreation of that battle. Also, some information about the Battle of Bunker Hill and I think a pretty good historical representation of what happened at the Battle of Bunker Hill. And, along with that, some forensic analysis of what happened to one of the great characters in the American Revolution and one of my personal heroes, Dr. Joseph Warren, who was killed at the Battle of Bunker Hill. And for 200 years, nobody really knew how he was killed, what it was that happened to him. Everybody was pretty sure that he hadn't been shot, at least not in the initial conflict, and that his death came during the third charge of the British infantry. But nobody really knew what it was that went on. Well, modern forensics and 3D modeling can help us a little bit with that, and I think you'll be interested in what they have found out in their investigations. Then we move on to the Continental Congress. There's a speech there from John Adams about why he was so adamant that the colonies declare their independence from Britain in a moving speech, and then the first two paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. Now, I'm warning you right now, the language of those things is a little bit difficult. It's a little stilted. It's older English, sort of colonial era English. And so not really what we're familiar with. And the language may be a little difficult to grapple with, but I'm asking you to grapple with it anyway. The Declaration of Independence is arguably the most important political document in world history. All of us are beneficiaries of the blessings of that document and the things that it said. Well, why? What did it say? What was so revolutionary about it? Here's our opportunity to take a look at that, and I want you to spend some time with the Declaration and try to understand what makes it so special. We're going to talk a lot more about that in class as well. You did a pretty good job last week on your tweets from history. Some of them were actually hilarious. So this week we're going to try something a little bit different. This week it's an alternate history assignment where I've proposed to you that the resolution on the Declaration of Independence at the Second Congressional Congress fails. That it is in fact voted down instead of what actually happened, which is a 12 yeses and one abstention. New York famously didn't have any instructions from its legislature and so was unable to cast a vote, and so they just voted to abstain. Just voted that they were there. The other 12 colonies all voted in favor of the Declaration. But what if they hadn't? What if we'd voted down the Declaration of Independence? What then? Remember, we've already had Bunker Hill. We've already had the beginnings of what you might call a war. General Washington is already forming the Continental Army, and you're already having border skirmishes with British regulars. It seems like there's no way to put this back together. But is that true? If the colonies don't declare independence, is there a chance that doesn't happen? Oh, it's kind of up to you. You can do whatever you want with that assignment. You can write something that comes from a few years later. You can just say, well, after this happened, then so this would happen, and this would happen, and this would happen. Or you can write something a little more ambitious, something that's a piece of fiction about what the world would look like in the 21st century, or what if you were alive in 1820. What would 1820 look like if the British and the United States, or if the colonies at the Second Continental Congress, had not voted to go to war with Britain? Interesting to think about, at least. Have a good time with that. There's one other journal assignment as well. I have some questions in there for that. And those will be the two assignments for this week. Any questions, of course, you can email me at cjones@lumenscholar.org or shoot me an email on Canvas. I'll be happy to get back to you as quickly as I can. Good luck, nice work last term, and let's get off to a good start this term as well.